and let her know that Mark Sargent's here, so I can't leave.
I was just talking to these. I've got two flat earthers here with me as well, so I'm a bit outnumbered now, actually.
Oh, okay.
Hey, Jamie, globe Earth skeptic.
Sorry. Anthony is a globe Earth skeptic. Welcome to Australia.
I'm a flat earther.
Cool.
How have you been enjoying Melbourne so far?
It's been pretty nice, except the weather's been horrible. So, not a big deal.
That's Melbourne. Just wait 10 minutes and it'll change.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I
should be used to that.
Yeah. What brings you to Australia?
I was shooting a TV commercial for a mobile phone app here in Melbourne. They flew me down for it.
Amazing.
Yeah. Go figure.
That's the life, man.
Wow.
Yes, sort of a last minute thing. And I was on set all day yesterday, but today I have the day off. And then tomorrow morning I'm heading back to Los Angeles and then up to Seattle. So.
What a life.
No. Oh, it's glamour, the money, the drugs, the women. It never ends.
Awesome, man. Thanks so much for finding the time to come on and join us. You're
yeah.
really busy.
Yeah, I mean, no, it's cool. I mean, honestly, I feel bad because I saw the email just now and it's like, holy smokes, I think I was supposed to be on there a while ago.
No, that's all good, man. I'm going to push this out for another, I'm going to say about 40 minutes.
Okay.
And we'll just have a chat, man.
Okay.
I've been, actually, I'm going to start with you. How long have you been in the flat Earth movement?
Almost since the beginning. So 4 years.
4 years.
So, yeah. So the first stuff I made, the clues I made were in February of 2015. And before that, there was a couple guys out there doing a few things from Europe, and then Eric Dubé, of course, and Matt Boylan and Jay Henning Caligia and Cesar from Germany and guys like that. But yeah, 4 years.
4 years. So you're kind of like the real OG.
If 4 years is original gangster, then yes.
Yeah.
Well, what I did, which was different from other people, is I made literally the 101 book, which was for lack of a better term, Flat Earth for Dummies, which I know it sounds redundant, right? But it's true. I made that thing, and then it became so easy to understand that it really started resonating with other people. And then more advanced channels came out, and so I like to call myself the freshman recruiter of of Flat Earth.
The communicator.
Yeah, more or less. I've done the most interviews. I mean, I give a really simple interview, and I try to break it down for whatever audience I'm talking to. And so, in fact, before I was invited down for this thing this week, I was interviewed. I was on the, for whatever reason, the Australian Today show and a bunch of radio stations in Australia when I was, before I did the conference in Auckland in New Zealand. So, yeah.
I did catch that. That's what actually sparked me to email you, because I didn't actually know you were coming to Australia, but I just happened to email you just before you came, which I thought was really fortuitous.
I really wasn't going to tell a lot of people, because I will catch some hell for this, because this is officially the first Flat Earth endorsement, meaning they're paying me to be myself. I'm not acting as someone else. I'm actually Mark Sargent in the commercial.
Yeah, right.
And so this is, and up until now, no one's gotten really officially. Yeah, we get paid by Google and YouTube and stuff like that, little things, but no one's gotten a brand deal. And so this one, again, kind of out of left field. I thought it would have been an American thing or a Canadian thing first, definitely not an Australian thing. So I was like, okay, sure, why not? And I have got a feeling, and I can't name the company because the commercial's not out, I should say the campaign's not out. But I think there's people inside this company that are part of us. One of my sayings, which I love from the James Bond movie, is the first thing you should know about us is we have people everywhere. And I think we've got people. I think we've got people in this company that hired me.
So that's awesome, man. And I'm glad you chose Melbourne. It's a great city. Sydney's a little bit better. But
I thought I was initially going to Sydney because the casting company was out of Sydney. And then I've only found out after I got the tickets that I was flying. And I don't know Australian geography that well. So like I was contacting some of the radio stations and people in Sydney, and I was wondering why they weren't writing me back. And I realized it's a little bit of a haul.
Oh yeah, yeah.
It's what, a 10-hour drive, 12-hour drive at least, something like that.
Yeah, I think it's about 14 hours. Yeah.
Oh yeah. It's like in the Americas, it'd be like from Seattle to almost Denver.
Yeah,
it's a long drive.
People don't realize just how big Australia is because it looks so tiny on the map. But
yeah, it's really, really big. And so, but I honestly thought that Melbourne and Sydney were like right next to each other. So, but anyway, it's nice. It's really cool, and I'm sure I'll be back soon enough.
Yeah, definitely. Oh, Sydney's a nice place. We've got the nice bridge. We've got the Opera House. So maybe next time.
yeah. I will try next time to go to Sydney.
So I'm really interested to talk to you because you've been in the flat Earth movement for so long. What do you think has been the biggest change, say, in the last 3 years from then to now?
The biggest change has been the mainstream, and I actually wrote about this in the book I just finished. Hopefully that'll be out here in the next couple months. It's been the mainstream media waves that have happened. So it seemed like a grassroots move. It was totally a grassroots movement in 2015, where it was just YouTube channels and a few websites, and everything was going really smoothly. And then, rapper B.O.B. did his thing where he called out Neil deGrasse Tyson at the beginning of 2016, and that carried most of 2016. And then 2017, Kyrie Irving came out and Shaq came out, and that whole sports side of it, that happened. And then in 2018, we had Bad Mike, the stuntman out of California, and then of course the documentary, the Behind the Curve, which did 27 film festivals in 8 countries, and then was picked up by everybody. And then once it hit Netflix, then it really, really changed stuff. So just the level of media exposure. So now we're in all sorts of different little nooks and crannies all over the place. It's not, we've reached that stage to where now flat Earth is not just, it's not something where you tell people about flat Earth and they have no reference point. Now everybody's got some sort of reference point to it. Oh, they may hate it, but they've got a reference point to it, whether it's the sports world or the entertainment world. Sorry, let me grab my water.
That's not so taboo, really. It is more of a talking point.
Oh yeah. I've never run into anyone now, and especially in the last 3 years, where I bring up flat Earth to, and they look at me and they go, "What is flat Earth exactly? Is it a metaphor for something?" It's like, no. I mean, everybody knows now, and I've talked to people, producers and celebrities who don't want to, who are still in the closet. 90% of our membership is still in the closet, and they won't come out, mostly because of what happened to Kyrie and Shaq.
Yeah.
They're a little worried about that, but it's only a matter of time now before some sort of television show happens, and then we'll see.
Mad Mike, I think, just got a network deal.
He did. We will see how that goes, because he's gotten himself in trouble in other areas, which I can't discuss legally.
Yeah.
Not to mention his documentary, if you believe in karma or the way things work, he had a documentary made about him. It was called Rocket Man, and which was fine and all, except that before it was released, in fact, I don't even know if it's out yet. The Elton John biography came out, and that was called Rocket Man. And so I was like, okay, well, good luck with that, because now you're going to have to change the title, and that was your big hype up until now. So yeah, and I saw the announcement that he's got a TV thing, which is great. Hey, happy for him. He generated a lot of publicity for us. He is not a hardcore member. He, if the backstory on him, he used us to finish his project. And we were the one that basically gave him the TV deal. He came to us and said, "Oh, okay, can you give me money to finish my rocket?" And I was like, all right. So we gave him $8,000, and we put a big flat Earth sticker on the side. And that's why the media paid attention to him. Just about anybody can make a homemade rocket in the middle of the desert, but very few people would have flat Earth on the side of it.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, happy for him.
Yeah, I mean, it just goes to show though that the zeitgeist is changing,
Yeah.
and it is more accepted.
Oh, yeah.
I'm still on the globe side, but what I do see is a lot of people yelling at each other for no reason. There's
Right.
no reason that you and I can't sit here and have a conversation, and that's what I hope to achieve with everyone that I talk to.
Right. The reason, the problem, and look, if you're on the globe side, I don't mind. And I've tried to tell people, it's not like I'm giving away trade secrets or anything like that. But you got to remember that the reason why this thing keeps resonating the way it is because we now have an easier way to explain the flat Earth model than globalists have a way of explaining the heliocentric solar system model. And by that, I mean, if you want to try to explain the solar system to somebody, you remember the average person on the street now, they don't know anything about geometry or trigonometry or calculus or advanced, quantum mechanics or anything like that. They barely know algebra, which is why, most people, when we, and I know this because when I would bring up the curvature of the Earth formula, which is just algebra, people don't know it. I mean, they have horrible flashbacks to their early years of school where it's like, oh man, I didn't remember anything from that class. And even when I heard the curvature formula, it's like, yeah, I had to hear it a few times before it really sunk in.
Yeah, it's the squared symbol. It gets you.
Yeah, that's what it is. I mean, I can go 8 inches per mile and they're absolutely with me. It's like, I'm totally with you. And I go squared. And as soon as I say squared, their eyes change. They're like, oh man, I know. I do not know what that means. And because of that, now, and we come at them with the flat Earth model. I mean, get remember in the clues, there was no math in the clues that I made at all. And because of that, people, and I don't want to say that people are stupid. They're not. But we don't teach physics to anybody. I mean, nobody remembers anything about physics, and people like easy things. There's a book, The Art of War, very, very old book, which says that people are like water. They always take the path of least resistance, which is the short version of saying that people are lazy. and they are. And it's like, if the flat Earth model is now easier to understand than the globe, that's what a lot of people nowadays are going with that. And it's really weird because I know, the globe has some outstanding arguments, sure. Unfortunately, those arguments are now above the heads of most people's scientific understanding. I call it like the scientific comprehension graph, whereas we have steadily, slowly but surely told people over the last, 40, 50 years that leave science to the scientists, leave science to the men in the white lab coats. They're smarter than us, right? Well, that's not a good thing because those guys can't boil anything down. And so anyway, so the short version of what I'll tell you, and I'll tell, I try to tell anybody in the globalist community, I go, you want to be able to put up a decent fight against flat Earth, you are going to have to come up with an easier to understand explanation for how the globe and the solar system works than you have right now.
Yeah, which is hard.
It's very, very hard. And so if you don't, it's like, well, I can't say you weren't warned.
Yeah.
So,
like I was saying to Anthony earlier, I think the most well-educated on the heliocentric model, the most educated people I've spoken to in the last 18 months have been flat earthers.
Yeah, that's the other side, which really blows my mind. Is I've learned two completely separate disciplines, a lot more. One, I've learned so many scientific factoids, physics and general mathematics than I ever have, basically, that I ever retained from any university. And I also learned more about religion, not just the Christian religion, but all the religions. I've learned more about all these different aspects because you have to know these things if you're going to go after them. And so it's not like we're learning them because we want to memorize, the curvature of the Earth formula. We're not learning it because we believe in it. We learn it with like, okay, how do we disprove it? And of course, there's the other side, which is every flat earther starts out hating flat Earth. And because of that, if you start out hating flat Earth, you're attacking it. And then you realize, oh, okay, I can't attack it anymore. And, in your case, who knows, maybe, I don't know how long you've been attacking it or how heavily you've been going after it or what, what your tactics have been. But I've known people that have gone after it for several years before they finally came around and said, yeah, you know what, I'm going to give flat Earth a chance, which is so weird to watch. I mean, I was the perfect example of that. 9 months. Yeah. 9 months, hated it. And then one day it was like, you know what? I'm going the other way with this. I'm going to say I don't hate it and see what happens. And, all of a sudden this wave of people coming at me, most of it good. So
Yeah.
anyway, sorry I ramble.
No, it's all good. That's what we're here for. The one thing I have noticed, it seems like people forget that competition is a good thing. So, obviously, you and I have opposing ideas.
Right.
I think that you and I will agree that that is a great opportunity for an awesome conversation. So,
Sure.
I just don't understand that if you type in, this is where the bad name comes from. If you type in flat Earth debate on YouTube, it comes up with a bunch of name calling and immaturity. How do you think you can move away from that? How can we?
It depends on the opposition. I kind of like treat it in the States. We have Republicans versus Democrats, and most of the time, 99% of the time, you're never going to get a Republican to switch over to be a Democrat, and the same vice versa. When it comes to flat Earth versus non-flat Earth, I mean, you'd be one of the rare people because you seem to be fairly easygoing and open-minded about some things.
It's just the Australian nature.
That must be it, because in the Americas, people, that 5 stages of acceptance thing really applies, which is, it's denial followed by anger, bargaining, and depression, and finally acceptance. There's so many hardcore people that get stuck on the denial side and never want to go, and then followed by anger and never want to go any further. And so that's where the name calling comes in. They get stuck on a certain point and they will not let it go. And so, and of course, not all the blame's on the globalists either, because flat earthers don't like seeing the opposition. Like the documentary, for example, the most common thing that I heard from people, and I told, we had really great discussions about it, where I go, why did you hate the documentary? Because I knew all the flat earthers were going to hate it. Yeah. And I go, why do you hate it? I go, well, I hated seeing the scientists and the psychiatrists and the astronaut and these guys up on screen. And I go, why? And they go, well, because they're against us. I go, well, that's the reason the movie did as well as it did, is because it showed both sides. And it was, it was a fair look at what was happening in flat Earth in 2017. And look, you have to talk to the other side. It made the audience feel safe. I know this for an absolute fact, because I sat in those theaters with the audiences, and I sat with those focus groups afterwards, and I talked to them. And that's why even the title, Behind the Curve, which can seem derogatory in some way, but it makes the audience feel safe going in, to where, again, the first 20, 30 minutes of that movie, most people didn't even think it was real. Most people thought, let me tell you a quick story. There was an editor in Los Angeles that was shown to after the movie came out, and he didn't know any, and they showed it to him. They said, okay, he didn't know anything about anything. They said, we're just going to show you this. We're not going to give you any context whatsoever. Tell us what you think. And after the movie was over, he says, wow, he goes, what sort of budget did you have for this film? And they're going, what are you talking about? And he goes, all those actors that believe in the flat Earth, they seem so real. They played it so straight. And he goes, there was no actors. Those were real people. He goes, what do you mean? You mean that conference in Raleigh, that conference, that actually happened? And he couldn't believe it. And he wasn't alone. I ran into tons of people that thought that, at least the first 20, 30 minutes of the movie, they honestly thought it was a piece of docufiction. And so that's how, but sorry, to get back to the point is that flat earthers don't like seeing opposing views. Same as globalists don't like seeing flat earthers, period. Yes. So when you put them together in the same room, oh my God. And then of course you've got dedicated channels now, a whole bunch of them against flat earth. Yes. So what do you think they're going to do? I mean, they get hits and views and likes based on how much they attack flat earth. What do you think? They're never backing down. Their channel would become meaningless, which of course is silly. It's like, okay, so you're going to keep your stance no matter what. And
so I mean, unpopular opinion of the day. I completely agree. It's been monetized, and that's where a lot of it comes from. And
oh yeah, I mean, there are channels now. I mean, there's got to be, just in the last year alone, maybe another 20, 30, channels with thousands and thousands of subs, on the scientific side, and of course it doesn't upset me at all. And I keep trying to tell them, I'm going, look, I'd like to see another 1,000 channels like this. And they go, why? I go, because it's metrics, man. How do you think this thing keeps trending?
Yeah.
It's not just because we're out there saying that flat Earth is great, thumbs up. It's because there's so many people coming out against it for whatever reason. There was a producer that I talked to a couple of years ago, back in the beginning of 2017. And it was when I first the light bulb came on my head, because we did this radio show, and the callers were just attacking me. Swearing, just accusing me of it was awful. And at the end, he comes on and he goes, wow, I think I've got it recorded actually. He goes, wow, I'm so glad you didn't hang up. And I go, he goes, it went really well. And I go, what are you talking about? He goes, you got to know. He goes, whether you love it or you hate it, producers don't care as long as you're engaged. In fact, they love it more when they're attacking. I did a radio show down here just this year, some Australian thing. It was a segment called Change My Mind. I can't remember the station name, where they whatever idea it is, they try to get callers to change your mind. And at the end, the producer comes on. I wish I would have recorded it. She goes, hey, just so you know, there were a whole bunch of callers that were on your side that called in. And I go, yeah, but you didn't let any of them through. She goes, why would we let them through? She goes, that's boring. The whole segment's called Change Your Mind. We're not going to let in callers that are pro flat Earth. We're only going to let people in that are attacking you. I'm just letting you know that they were there. It's like,
well, controversy sells,
It does. People love their drama. So
I just think the truth won't be derived from selling tickets to an argument.
Sometimes. I mean, there was a segment I did down in Los Angeles. It was called the Fallen State. I can't remember the host's name.
Oh, I know that guy. And he back to the show. He says, "Welcome, everybody."
Black guy.
Yeah,
black guy. He brought on an astrophysicist, and I was really surprised they got this guy. And the producer tells me, she goes, after the show, she goes, it was really tough. She goes, we were calling around, and there was a University of Southern California physicist. I think he was this Asian guy. And he goes, oh, I'd love to get on a thing and talk to Mark about flat Earth. She goes, oh, good. What are your points against it? He goes, against it? He goes, I'm all for it. And they said, sorry, we can't use you. We need someone to go against him. And so, again, people, the drama sells, which is fine and all. I try to stay away from it as much as possible. In the book I just wrote, even though I have a chapter called Enemies of the State, I don't list troll channels in it. I only list people that are in flat Earth that have been causing more harm than good, and or making waves where they probably shouldn't. The analogy I try to throw at people is the show The Walking Dead, right?
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. That show bugged me. I watched the first couple seasons of it, and subliminally there was something that was really bothering me about the show. I could not figure out. I was like, why is this show leaving a bad taste in my mouth every time I was watching it?
It's Kyle. He's a bad actor.
No, it's not. No, it's not that. No, there was something beyond that, which was that when I found out the guy that created the series cut his teeth for years, he did soap operas for a number of years, right? And soap operas are basically creating drama out of nothing, right? It's taking normal life and just adding tons and tons of drama to it. And that's what he was doing with The Walking Dead. And that's, so my joke was, it's like, I go, don't add drama to a zombie apocalypse.
Yeah, you don't.
A zombie apocalypse by itself, you're waking up and the whole goal of the day is to not die. You don't have to add relationship conflict and who's cheating on who and is somebody getting pregnant and all this other stuff. You don't have to add that. And the same thing goes with flat Earth, which is, look, flat Earth is already extremely polarizing. You don't have to add any more drama with that. So the external fighting that's happening, or the fighting that's going within the ranks, again, if you saw the documentary, I wasn't kidding. The flat Earth is a lot like the Scottish Highlands, where we're just clans that are just hacking at each other with swords because in the globalist defense, because they haven't put up an organized defense against us. If Neil deGrasse Tyson and Michio Kaku and Brian Cox and whoever else is out there decided, and that guy that's going to be on The Bachelorette, the season, the astrophysicist. Oh, by the way, I've been watching that trailer come up only about 50 times in my hotel room.
Welcome to Australia.
Oh my god. Oh my god. I want to kill that guy. Yeah. Anyway. Anyway, it doesn't really matter. But if they actually organized a defense or an offense against Flat Earth, then yeah, we wouldn't be fighting nearly as much amongst ourselves. We'd be attacking that. But which is why on the documentary, anybody that was talking against Flat Earth did it really, with a smile on their face. They were being quite cordial during the documentary, which is why it's like, okay, who do we make the villain in the documentary? Funny enough, and very appropriately, they used Matt Boylan, otherwise known as Matt Powerland. Oh yeah, let's use him. He's actually the biggest voice against Flat Earth, which is one of our own. So
he was definitely the bad guy.
And he was perfect, honestly. He wasn't. I told him, I go, every producer that's ever asked me, they said, what about Matt Boylan? I go, don't use him. Don't use him. You will not be able to do anything with him. He's absolutely uncontrollable. And they said, oh, every producer says the same thing. They have this chip on their shoulders. Oh, come on. Handled worse than him. And there was this woman from True Television that she was one of the first. And I go, all right, I'll give you his phone number. You're going to regret it. She goes, whatever. She goes, I can handle myself. I go, whatever. And she calls me back the next day. And this conversation starts out with, why didn't you tell me? And she goes, why didn't you warn me? I go, I tried for 40 minutes. I worked on you. I said, he does not play well with others. And even the documentary team, they tried twice. I mean, negotiations broke down twice till they finally figured out, she said, you know what, let's just use clips and then just make this the post in the movie where he made all these demands. That was basically just a warning to other producers saying, hey, just so you know, here's what he's going to ask for. And apparently he asked for that even with the writer, where he condemns me on just about everything that he does, and no one wants to talk to him. Anyway, sorry, I'm blathering.
No, that's fine. Just on that documentary, do you think that there will be more documentaries like that? Because for me, I found it extremely entertaining.
Yeah, they will. In fact, that particular documentary wasn't even supposed to be that entertaining. Well, it was entertaining, but they wasn't supposed to take as many digs. I don't think they were going to take shots at Jaron or Bob or anybody else. And the only reason I found out about this was when I was listening to the director's commentary, which is only in the iTunes version. And the director, when that 12-year-old kid came up to the microphone and was asking me questions when I was up on stage, they all chimed in on the director's commentary. Oh yeah, this is the point where we had to take a stand against Flat Earth. Up until that point, they were going to be completely neutral about it. And then it's like, it's the old saying, it's for the children, right? It's all fun and games until the kids are involved. And that's when they decide to take a stand against us. It's like, now, will they get a chance? Unfortunately, will that group get a chance to make another documentary? No, not a chance. But there are already others. In fact, as soon as I get back, I'm doing a conference call with another group, which I think are friends of Daniel Clark and his guys. And I don't know what will be up with them. But there's a lot. I will say this. The documentaries are going to come out, and I don't know who's going to buy them, but you never can tell. I think are going to be mostly made by flat earthers. There's like 4 of them in the works right now, and they're all pro flat Earth because
like the JM Truth is working on one at the moment.
Oh well, that's just it. I don't even know all of the people that are doing them. There's a bunch though that are doing them, and like with a lot of projects, they're never going to get finished. And of course, are you going to send it to a film festival, or are you just going to pitch it to a distributor immediately? Who knows? So behind the curve will end up being, well, it has been so far. It's been our biggest Trojan horse ever because I sat in the audiences, and at the end there were so many people that had questions that before wouldn't have made it through the entire movie if it was a propaganda film. And because the director, everybody that made the movie was against flat Earth, that helped them. That helped us because that was literally the first question that was always asked to them in the festivals. It was, the people that are on stage, are you flat earthers? And the enthusiastic, no, they're not. In fact, one of the women, Caroline, the lead producer on this, she's like an anti-conspiracy person. She doesn't believe in conspiracies at all. So, in fact, I think she made, when she was like 20, like an anti-conspiracy Sandy Hook thing.
Oh, right, yeah.
from some years ago, and we only found out about that later. But either way, again, what people say, would you go back and change anything? Yeah, I don't think I would have ended it with the Jaren thing, even though Jaren deserved it because
Yeah.
no, he did. He botched the experiment twice, and I didn't
Yeah.
know until months later that he didn't even do a daytime dry run.
Well, the thing is, Globe believers use that all the time, and
Oh yeah.
I always tell them that the experiment was flawed to begin with.
Oh yeah, he completely botched it. It was absolutely, and he botched it twice. That's why there was no mercy by the producers.
Yeah.
Because he did it the first time, he melted the condenser. That's actually a hurdle that just about everybody that does laser stuff doesn't realize. You can't leave the laser on.
Yeah.
It will melt the condenser. It will just burn it. It'll burn it down. And the bigger laser, the quicker it'll die. You have to do it in short bursts, and like a minute on, a minute off, minute on, minute off. But then Sharon calls him again, and he says, after the conference, after they had shot almost the entire movie, and he says, "Oh no, come back up to San Francisco. I've totally got this. I got it this time."
And he goes for it.
yeah, and he goes up the second time, and he muffs it again, and this time he didn't even have line of sight, and it's like, oh my god. So, but he was the first one to admit. And finally, he gets on camera and he says, "Okay, for anyone that's doing this in the future, don't do it live.
Yeah.
The first time. You have to run the experiments before all of a sudden you bring in a news team, or because you like any best laid plans, any experiment you ever do, there's always some unforeseen thing. In his case, it was he looked on Google Maps and says, "Oh, well, it looks flat and straight. It must be." He looked at the data that Google Maps was presenting and says, "Oh, this has to be absolutely gospel. Looks perfect." And it's like, of course, it's like, aren't you going to drive out there and actually look for yourself before you go out in the middle of the night and do this? It's like, no, it'll be fine. What's that line from the movie guy, the Critical Drinker movie? They go, "Nah, it'll be fine."
Yeah.
Anyway,
I mean, you guys weren't aware that it would make it to Netflix. That wasn't really the plan for the documentary, was it?
oh my God, nobody thought when I was involved. We can remember the odds against it. People don't know the sheer. I mean, like the people that are making documentaries now. Of course, this movie will help their chances. But out of all, like, here's a perfect example: the Toronto, Canada Film Festival, one of the biggest ones to start off the year. There were 3,000 submissions. Out of those 3,000 films, they choose 100 just to be in the festival. We made that 100, and then out of those 100, we always made the top 10 list. Won almost no awards. So there was always the other people that won these awards, but when you said, "Oh yeah, the top 10 documentary films you have to see this year," we always made that. And then by the end of the year, we were starting to make lists. Like, I mean, it was absolutely surreal. So like the Lady Gaga movie where she won the Oscar for A Star Is Born, right? That the remake. So then we started making lists of top 10 films you have to see. And there was Lady Gaga and Bradley Cooper, playing piano, and right next to him was me on the beach. And I was going, "What?" and I had to show that. I showed that to the producers, and Caroline wrote back. She goes, "Take that, Lady Gaga!" And it's like, oh my God. So yeah, we didn't think that the producers, because they're realistic. They were like, "Look, this thing probably never sell, and even if it does, it's going to take, 18 months to sell," and it sold immediately. It sold to Amazon and Google Play and YouTube Red and iTunes, and then Netflix finally came along. And I didn't realize that in the States, anyone under the age of 30 owns Netflix.
Yeah,
because it's the cheapest bang for your buck when it comes to media, and kids under the age of 30 in America have no money, so everyone saw this, and my email load, so many people were contacting me because of it. So that was not the plan. I mean, we tried to. I will say this: there was in 2016, there was a television show that was being pitched to Netflix by a producer that I knew. And that was squashed. That deal was completely squashed. It had nothing to do with the documentary. It was just a television series, because they cross-referenced Eric Dubé and his anti-Semitic videos.
Yeah.
And that was it. It was the end of the meeting. It was like, "Yeah, sorry, we're not touching this thing." not until that guy gets completely taken down the ladder, and that's what he ended up doing.
Yeah.
His channel was burned down twice, and I warned him. My God, I warned him. I said, I go, look, man, they're going to get you eventually. You cannot make four-hour videos about how great Adolf Hitler is. You just can't. You can't do it anymore. It's not really PC. So anyway,
yeah, it's a crazy world. I think that that Netflix taking that documentary on was sort of a step towards less. I don't know what the word mollycoddling. Less censorship of things that people are sensitive about.
Well, yeah. It gave the media it's what I call a degree of separation. So beforehand, if you wanted to do a flat Earth story, you had to contact flat earthers directly. Meaning, whatever media, you had to find some flat earthers, you had to research flat earthers directly. But when the movie came out, now if you wanted to run a flat Earth story, all you had to do is do a movie review.
Yeah.
And then, seriously, it's like, oh, well, it's right there. And, it couldn't be any easier for them. And so we got a lot of people that reviewed the movie from a scientific standpoint or started doing their research based on the movie. And so, yeah, it generated a lot more discussion. Plus, it elevated it to what I call a campfire story, which is it became the concept, at least. Remember I said how easy it is. It's kind of like the English language. The English language is notorious. It's easy to learn, very difficult to master because we break our own rules. There's so many. Yeah, we cobbled together the English language over the centuries, and it's a mess. But it's easy to learn. So people, when you hear broken English from people in other countries, oh yeah, you understand what they're saying. They're butchering it. But that's the same thing with flat Earth now, where flat Earth, you can explain, because the concept, the words, flat Earth, right? And you come up with something, whatever bullet point, but there's so many aspects to it that you're never going to know them all. No one memorizes them all. You've got to have some sort of notes. But the initial concept now, you can explain outside of the internet, just when you're talking to somebody. It's what I try to tell people is when you're doing conversations with somebody on the street, right? It's the generic conversations start out with the weather almost always, followed by some sort of sports team reference, followed by maybe some family stuff, and then people that you mutually know, and then finally it usually ends with an interesting story, which is, hey, I heard that if you eat 3 ounces of chocolate, dark chocolate, you can reduce cancer by blah blah. Really, I heard that blah blah. Well, now flat Earth has entered that. Yeah. Whereas now flat Earth is like, yeah, I heard about these guys talking about flat Earth, and bring up some weird topic, maybe one bullet point. And then people are like, really? Well, then what about this? And it's like, well, I don't know about this. I only know this one bullet point.
Yeah. Well, it's nice because it's kind of self-perpetuating in a way. And I have a great story because I worked with a guy. I keep my work and my personal life pretty separate. So this kind of stuff I do here and work. I'm quite a quiet guy, but this guy came up to me and goes, "Hey man, I saw this show on Netflix, and the guys were talking about the flat Earth, and I knew all about it, obviously." So I just turned to him. I was like, "So what do you think?" And he just goes, "I don't know, man. I don't know," and then just walked away. So it was, obviously he's going to come to his own conclusions, and he's a really smart guy. But I just thought it was. I don't think the show did what the producers thought it was going to do.
No, it didn't. In fact, they're young. The guys that made it, I think they're all around 30. And they didn't realize it's like, okay, like if you're going to, like, for example, if you're going to try to keep it away from children, right? The last thing you should show is a 12-year-old on screen asking me questions and the conversation between me and him going really well and the audience responding well to the child. And of course, the thing I love people, I go, you want to guarantee something's going to take off, you make it taboo.
Yeah.
And the United States government is so close to making this like a taboo thing. I mean, there's been congressional hearings already about it where, Google and the United States government has been trying to address the flat Earth problem, which is one of the chapters in the book. And it's true. But like with your friend, it doesn't really matter how intelligent you are. If it gets in your head, there's some aspects of it that really bother you. even though you might have enough to be like, to where you can sleep at night, it's like, it's a globe, I can go to sleep, I don't have to worry about these guys. There's some aspects that we bring up that even though they don't absolutely prove flat Earth, they're loose ends, and you don't know what to do with them. And so it's kind of, it bugs you. It's it eats at you, because it's like, okay, well, it doesn't prove flat Earth, but it's out there. And I knew this when I was doing I was going to do a debate against a professor from Georgetown University, an astrophysicist, not the astrophysicist pretty boy from The Bachelor. Seriously, I want to punch him. It's like the pose where he's like landing in the city with star dust landing around him with flowers when he ends, the superhero pose. I'm going, come on, fine. He has straight up hair. I get it.
Yeah. Look at that guy. Look at that guy. Yeah,
I know. I'm looking at him going, is he really an astrophysicist, or is he just exponentially more intelligent than the women that are? I mean, yeah, I know they're pushing the whole, I'm a Gemini, or it's like, oh, you're killing me.
Yes.
So anyway, the German television team set up this interview. I didn't know who this guy was. And they said, okay, ask 5 questions. We'll do it to where you aren't talking over each other, because whatever reason, the higher degree you have, unless you have a degree in communications, generally you're really focused on your area of expertise, and being, doing back and forth is not your forte. Unless it's communications, you're not going to do well. I mean, which is why they use Bill Nye in all these interviews, is because general PhDs, they're really, really dry. It's like they answer very point of fact. It's like, yes, that's the way, and that's, producers hate that. It's like, oh God, it's like 1 and 2 syllable answers. We can't do that. So they didn't want that to happen. So they said, okay, what we'll do is we'll record you asking questions, and then we'll send that tape to him, and he will respond with another tape. We'll just exchange videotapes between you two. You're never going to talk to each other. And they said, come up with 5 scientific questions. And I go, ooh, that should be interesting. So I came up with 5, you probably heard him, my 5 quick bullet points that I fired at him. And he folded, and that was it. They pulled the segments, and it never was going to run, and he quit. And to be fair, he probably quit more because the questions I asked were of a broad enough spectrum that, fine, he has a PhD in astrophysics. Some of the questions I asked weren't astrophysics questions. If they would have been, I think it would have been more fair if they said you have to ask questions that are specific to astrophysics, then maybe I think he would have addressed them. But I asked at least 2 questions, which there was no way he could answer them, because it just wasn't his field. And scientists are like, well, now why he didn't try to answer some of them or counter with some of his own, who knows? Or maybe he just came to his senses and said, yeah. Well, no, it was a joke I put out there in like 2015. I said, you really don't want to be that guy. You don't want to be that scientist that goes into the ring with flat Earth, because if you don't knock out flat Earth in the first round, people are going to be staring at you more than flat Earth. They're going to be they're going to be like, okay, why is flat Earth still around? Which is the common argument. I hear from people, it's like, no, flat Earth isn't a thing. I'll go, oh, good. So you'll be able to shoot this down then. Because it's been just growing for 4 years, and better than, thousands and thousands and thousands of people have tried to knock this thing down, and there are dedicated channels working their asses off trying to knock it out, and they can't do it. For God's sakes, I'm down here in Australia getting paid to do a flat Earth commercial. So as much as people would like to say that it's going away, it's not. And that's why, science is why National Geographic, when they ran their segment, and even they didn't air the questions that they asked me. When they sat me down at the end, it was just me. All the flat earthers had gone away, which was good, because it was a horrible shoot. It was off 100 degrees and Dead Sea. And they asked me, they said, what happens when flat earth gets outside of your control? What happens to medicine? What happens to technology? What happens to civilization as we know it? They're asking, this is verbatim, the questions they're asking me. And they're saying, isn't it possible that flat Earth, if it gets its way, could usher in a new dark age? It's like, what? I go, I think that might be a little heavy-handed. I don't think that's what we're not burning down libraries or anything like that. It's a pretty positive group. So, but they were really worried about it, and the reason they were even running the segment was because they were concerned that the science community was kind of waving us off. It's like, nah, it'll be fine. No, there was that survey by U.gov that that's one of the big science census things, where they polled 10,000 Americans. They asked them, what do you think about the globe and flat Earth and all these different aspects. And as you got younger, when they got down to the lowest group that they could ask, which was 18 to 24-year-olds, a full third didn't believe in the globe. So at that point, what do you do? I mean, to where, and then again, science was in denial to where they were attacking their own people. They went to u.gov and says, well, you're obviously doing it wrong. The survey has to be wrong because those numbers cannot be accurate. And we didn't ask them to do the freaking survey. And so yeah, it's weird. It's a big mess right now, and I'm not exactly sure what's going to happen next year. So.
Yeah, I mean that was sort of my next question would be, what's the end game? Are we looking are you looking as a community to sort of see it being taught as an alternative, or is it a replacement?
We'll expand into charities, literacy programs, world domination, stuff like that. I'm sorry, was that last part out loud? No, no. We at this point, are you kidding? It's uncharted territory. We're just when people say, "Oh, what should I be doing over the next year or two?" I said, just keep spreading the word. Basically you're going to have to break the rule. The rule that I initially put out there, which was, the first rule of Flat Club is you do not talk about Flat Club, which worked pretty well for a while. People were pretty discriminating, about who they talked to about it. And then finally they caved, they got so excited. It's like they told family members over like holiday dinners, which is the last thing you'd ever want to do. You might as well, seriously, you'd have a better reaction if you came out as like a gay heroin addict instead of saying flat Earth, because gay heroin addict, it's like, oh, okay.
Yeah. I have a cousin like that,
Oh yeah. You totally get away with that. But if you say you're flat Earth, people look at you and they actually think it's like, okay, is he a danger to himself and others? Should we put him in an institution? I haven't seen any flat earthers that have gone to institutions or anything like that. But for me, it's literally all I do is I'm spreading the word as fast as I can in any venue that'll allow me to do it. So this year we're doing mostly conferences. I've already done 3, one in Auckland, one in Calgary, Canada, one in Los Angeles, and then there's 3 more I've still got to do. One in London, one in Stockholm, the big one in Dallas, and then after that, we'll kind of have to see. I've lost track of the amount of meetups we've done, anything like that. But yeah, it's mostly just spreading the word. I don't think, there's some experiments that'll have to be done. One of my big goals is to get into the top tier American mainstream, if possible. The only thing, the documentary is one thing. If they do a fictionalized movie, we'll see. Whatever producers want to talk to me when I get back tomorrow or the next day or probably Monday, we'll see what they want. There is no doubt in my mind that eventually, and it's one of my goals because I can make it happen, is that it'll eventually be a television show, not because there'll be a bunch of producers that are flat earthers, but there'll be producers that look at the numbers and they can't ignore them. Because producers, they just care about the numbers, and that is what's trending. And once they do that, I predict, the headlines, I absolutely predicted this, it will happen. The headlines will read, we'll assume a flat earth show comes out, on a series of flat earth shows come out, and the first one, the newspaper will read, is this entertainment genius, or is this the end of television as we know it? Which I think is hypocritical, because the Americans, when it comes to target demographics, we make shows about virtually anything now. For God's sakes, we make shows about crocodile hunters with beards that also repair antique furniture on the weekends, and we mix all this different stuff. There's huge amounts of television shows for just about anything you can think of, but we've never done anything on flat Earth. And so why not? Why haven't we? It's extremely polarizing. It generates massive amount of interest and a massive amount of passion. So without being harmful, from what I can tell, even though I've got family members that won't talk to me now.
Yeah, well, I mean, I'm just floating ideas here, but we could do like Apollo 11.5 with an Australian astronaut that doesn't go to the moon, and I will play the astronaut. So
Nice.
That can be the first episode.
Nice.
Yeah.
Oh no, it would. Oh no, the show writes itself. In fact,
Yeah.
I spoke with a producer in Los Angeles a couple of months ago, and I said, "Look, this is one of the easiest shows ever to write ever. Which is you just literally take the Ancient Aliens format, and replace anytime they say the word aliens with flat Earth. That's it. Seriously, I mean, you get a small group of people.
Get the same guy.
Yeah, you could even get you get the same guy, make him into a whole new meme. He could totally do it. Well, I mean, you have the narration over the top, people that travel around different parts of the country and or world doing experiments or looking at things that may link to flat Earth, and at the end you leave the open-ended question, which is the Ancient Aliens hook, which is, does everything we talked about over the last hour in this episode lean towards flat Earth? And that's it. Roll credits with music. That's all you do. You never even give the answer at the end. It's always a cliffhanger, and it would be great. I know it would work. It's just that every producer is so nervous for the exact same reason. They're nervous because of the backlash that the viewers might have. I mean, two quick stories. One would be the Alex Jones show, who contacted me in 2016 before he got in trouble. And they actually said, how long can we do a flat Earth show without actually using the words flat Earth? And I go, wow, that's an interesting question. I go, maybe 10 minutes. And he goes, well, yeah, we can't do it. I go, why? He goes, well, the backlash. It might, they're afraid of this big exodus of people. It's like, oh, I'm not listening to these guys. But to be fair, like, for example, CBS, one of the major networks in the United States, they did a segment on us, same time National Geographic did, same meetup. They were both there at the same time. And Patricia Steer did the interview because I couldn't. I was married to the other group. And it aired on, it was their showcase show on a Sunday thing, and did very well. On YouTube, it got up to about 1 million hits fairly quickly. She was at the top of the charts, and I couldn't have been more proud of her. And CBS is an older audience that totally believe in the Apollo moon landing. Mm-hmm. And from what I could tell, they were writing into the station saying, look, why are you even giving these guys a format? And CBS pulled that segment. They pulled it out of their archives, and they pulled it out. There's some things that haven't changed over the years, and that is, if you're a loud enough protest to to wherever it is, you can call and say, I'm going to tell all my friends not to watch your show. Even though you're in your 80s. Yeah. Apparently it works. There are producers that take that to heart. There's customer service people that say, well, for every letter, there's probably thousands of people like it that didn't write the letter. And so that's what they did. They pulled the segment. So that's the only reason why we haven't made it to that top tier yet, is that fear. Even though, Kyrie Irving didn't suffer too much. Yeah. And Shaquille O'Neal, he lasted for 10 days, which was nice. But he makes too much money in endorsements. There was no way he was going to be able to hold out forever. So.
I can't believe Alex Jones wouldn't take it up. I mean, that guy.
Well, you have no idea how many of all the interviews I did. I think 1 in every 5 would actually tell me before the show how nervous they were to even do the topic. and I said, really, why? They go, man, because it's an unknown. They don't know what it's like. What if our audience just completely backlashes us? And because you see the comments in YouTube, anytime a bigger show or a big channel covers it, there's a bunch of comments saying, why are you even allowing them a platform?
Yeah, but Alex Jones did
a
whole episode on gay frogs. I mean, which is why in the very first clue I did, I put that right out in the open. I said, look, I have literal friends who say that the entire royal family of England is made up of lizard people.
And
Yeah,
when
I've heard that, yeah.
and I go, that's an old one. And I go, yeah, really? Well, you should look into flat Earth. And they go, get the hell out of here. It's like, what are you talking about? What about the lizard people? It's like, yeah, I know. Lizard people, they're good. Flat Earth, no. And like, all right, I get it. So yeah, it's a bizarre. I still think, even though there's people that are going to claim censorship, I still think we've been helped. It's not, and I'm not trying to be super sinister here, but it's one of those things where, look, I've done enough programming and I've been in the tech field enough that if they wanted to shut down the flat Earth in the search engines, they could have done it easy. I mean, YouTube didn't have to recommend us as many times as they did. Yeah, we made YouTube a lot of money because people binge watched flat Earth a lot. Yeah. But Google didn't have to fill in the search bars when it was a point where you type in all you had to do is type in into Google and it would fill in Earth flat ? It's like that question was coming up so often that so when Google finally said, okay, we're not going to recommend flat Earth as much. But people are saying, oh, that's censorship. I'm going, no. 3 years they've been doing nothing but help us. I go, only thing they're doing now is they're taking their foot off the gas. They're not hitting the brakes and I go, you'll know when they hit the brakes because the big YouTube channels that talk about flat Earth will be gone. Yeah, I mean, there's some that have been demonetized, but that's for different reasons. You've got to be squeaky clean on YouTube now.
Oh yeah.
They're not like Disney or America Online back in the day where you had to be super family friendly. But you can't, especially with the American conspiracies, you can't really talk about them.
No.
You can't talk about false flag shootings, 9/11. You can't really talk about. It's mostly shootings though, and of course no hate speech. So.
Yes. Well, my final question is a bit of a controversial one.
Sure.
I like to ask flat earthers, and you're the highest profile flat earther. But a lot of people, not just flat earthers, but also us globers, or whatever you want to call it. There's these two people within the community that we really, really just can't take to, and that's the Nathans. And I think you know the two Nathans I'm talking about. The Oakley and the Thompson.
Yeah. Okay. So, well, yeah, very, very different guys, and they've never met.
No, but they've.
Okay, so Nathan Oakley, and get a member. He started out fairly quiet. I remember.
I can't believe that.
I know, right? But everybody develops their own hook after a while. They develop their own niche. And Nathan Oakley, I'm talking about. Let's call him Oakley. Oakley figured out that the more he used some of the troll tactics against them. He became the first flat Earth troll.
Oh, he is the troll. He is the king of trolls.
Yeah, he's brutal along those lines. Now, could I do what he does? No, I could not. And I was a little amazed that when he became this, because remember, it's positive reinforcement. It's not like, I mean, yeah, there's some of us, so it's like, we're just going to keep arm's length away from him. But he gets, there's a lot of people that like mixing it up. Let me use this as a reference really quick. The first 6 months of my YouTube channel, I didn't even allow comments or thumbs up or thumbs down. So, and the reason is because I just didn't want to deal with the drama. There's some people that really, really love it. And my co-host at the time, he says, you really should turn those on. And I go, why? He goes, man, there are people that just live in those forum sections and they love it. They just love the heart, and the worse it gets, the more they love it. And Nathan's one of those guys. Yeah. He now does it for what you want to call it, shock value, you want to call it ratings, you want to call it whatever. He's very good at it now, to where he can push buttons and just piss people off so quickly. And you're right, I have not heard anyone berate, not even the trolls, not even the people against us. He's absolutely on the offensive. Yeah. So my opinion of him is, look, I remember, you watch him now, you listen to him now, and then you watch like the Vice interview he gave 2 years ago, and you compare those two people, and you're going, wow, it's really the same guy. Because on Vice, he was great. I remember recommending him for the Vice interview, and he was I thought he was outstanding. I don't think he's going to quit anytime. Nor am I ever going.
No.
I'm not even going to recommend to him that he quits because he's
Look,
just.
it is entertaining in a way.
But let's put it this way: you can't completely blame him because there are people that step into the ring with him.
Yeah.
And I'm going, look, if you don't want to, I mean, he's going to come after you with just reckless abandon. So you're better off just not fueling him.
Yeah.
If you want to slow him down. I just don't think that's going to happen because everyone says things like, oh, I can handle Nathan. Nah, it'll be fine. So the other one is Nathan Thompson, who used to be based out of Los Angeles. And I think he's now in Texas. He was in the he was in the documentary now. And he kind of snuck his way. I wrote this in the book. He kind of snuck his way into the documentary because he wasn't making YouTube videos when we first found him. When he first found us, and he was really angry that at the first conference he wasn't even really invited. He wasn't a speaker or anything like that. And it's like, what have you done? And he had quietly amassed this huge Facebook group when it came to Flat Earth, but he didn't do any YouTube videos. So we didn't know, and we told everyone at the conference, it's like, look, be as low key as possible. And then he walks in with a globe on his head, wearing a globe like a jack-o'-lantern with sunglasses attached. And of course, the cameras couldn't stay off of him because it's like he was the most interesting prop in the room.
Yes.
And he's another guy. He's like, yeah, for street activism, I couldn't do what he does. I couldn't walk up to a perfect stranger, with no segue at all and just say, hey, I want to talk about Flat Earth with you. You might as well be a person walking around the street, handing out leaflets. People don't want to talk to you. But he's okay. He's an okay guy. He and I, we haven't really talked a lot. He didn't trust me. Like during the Raleigh conference, he absolutely didn't trust me. He thought I thought I was a government agent for sure.
That's the funniest thing to hear. All these flat earthers say that everyone else is somehow a NASA employee.
Well, that's mostly because of just the conspiracy nature. Like, look, we're all suspicious. I mean, I joke with people a lot, and then I tell media that want to do things, I go, you got to play it pretty soft because conspiracy people are really, really twitchy. Yeah. We why wouldn't we be? We don't trust everything. In fact, there's a lot of stuff we don't trust. And to that effect, though, I do not think, even today in 2019, I do not think there are any agents in Flat Earth because you don't need it. Remember, don't add drama to Flat Earth, don't add drama to zombie apocalypse. They don't need to. The government does not need. In fact, if they were going to infiltrate Flat Earth, whoever they use to infiltrate is not going to be high profile. They're
right.
Yeah, they're only going to be low key people, and you don't need them. The Flat Earth is got so much division within itself. Plus, again, if you wanted to shut it down, you could have done it. I mean, you could have blown up a building in our name, or done a shooting in our name, or poisoned somebody, and nothing's ever happened. In all these meetups, there's never been a violent thing. I mean, literally, all you have to do is have a guy with a Flat Earth shirt shoot up something, and that's it. That's all you'd have to do. And they haven't done it. So I'm trying to figure out. Anyway, but Nathan, he's an okay guy. Again, we haven't spoke. In fact, I'm going to meet him next month down in again, maybe we'll talk more down in the Take on the World conference in Ohio. That's the next one I'm going to. It's mostly a Christian conference, which is a whole other thing.
Again,
remember,
save that for another time.
Yeah, it's a whole other thing. Gotta remember, anyone out there, the 50% of the Flat Earth community are hardcore Christians, and that's to the point where there are dedicated conferences just for them. And that's the first one I'll be attending. I've not attended a full blown Christian conference yet.
Well, make sure you let Nathan know. I'd love to have him on for a chat. I have been trying to get in contact with him, but I am blocked from his group.
Really?
Yes, I did, because I was given 10 minutes to provide evidence, and I was at work, and unfortunately, time frames didn't line up, and I was permanently booted, which is whatever.
No, I'll talk to him and see if I can get him to talk. I mean, he's usually pretty good about talking with people. I mean, he goes into discussions that a lot of the people wouldn't.
Oh yeah, definitely. I mean, I'm not really into, like I said earlier, I think you've noticed I'm not really into debating.
Right.
I just think he's an extremely interesting
He is
person.
interesting.
You know,
I will say that. I couldn't do like the mental gymnastics. That the funniest part, let me end on this. The funniest part of the documentary, and I saw it in the audience when I in the theaters when I was watching it, was when Nathan was showing the camera guy, because I would have shot it differently if I was the camera guy. He's, Nathan's reading books as he's driving, right? And he's just looking at the camera guy, showing him pages in the book, not looking at the road at all. No peripheral vision or anything like that. If I was the camera guy, I would have like spun forward real fast just to show the road, then look back at Nathan like a couple times just to be like motion. And Daniel didn't do that. Daniel, in fact, I was wondering if Daniel was like going, oh my God, if Daniel was like looking at the road and had the camera on him. But yeah, that's the type of guy he is. He's, he's really, really intense in that arena. But look, we're lucky to have him. He adds a whole nother wrinkle. And if he wasn't, let's put it this way, if he wasn't interesting, he wouldn't have made the film.
No. I mean, my favorite part of the film was watching him bounce a ping pong ball on hammers.
Yeah,
because I've tried to do that, and it is hard.
The director said that many times in interviews where he'll have you do it. He'll say, "Look, you try," and it's not easy. And then you combine that with all the memorization stuff he does, and it's like, wow, yeah. So there's a lot. There's a lot rattling around his head at a given point. So in fact, I wrote. I think. Sorry, let me end on this. I wrote a thing on him. I said that one day he'll get his chance. He'll get to sit across from somebody of note that doesn't see him coming, whoever it is, being an astronaut. Because, he was the guy that hassled a NASA employee. But if he actually gets next to an astronaut, and the producer doesn't know what they're doing, ooh, it's gonna be a long, long night for whoever's across from him. So,
oh man.
Anyway,
well, I appreciate your time.
Oh yeah, no. Sorry, I didn't get to you earlier. I'm glad we can talk because right now it is 4:30 in the morning in the United States. But that's fine. I'm actually synced up.
Can I ask a quick question before you go?
No, I don't think so. What? Sure. What do you want? Yeah.
I just wanted to know, Mark, if you've tuned into who I think is the new biggest flat earther, Owen Benjamin.
I'm like, yes, I've tuned into him. Of course, I've subscribed. I've listened to him. I've watched his journey, and I was really excited when I saw him because I saw it was the most natural thing ever. Because he lives only about an hour or so away from me up near Seattle.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, and yet I know I'm not going to push him because I know how he is, and it's like, look, yeah. I'm literally the closest one to him. I could be down there in like 2 seconds. I know exactly where he is, and when he was opening up packages and he ended his podcast and he opened up that opened up that package from DITRH, and he was so excited about it. He's like, you know what? I'm going to talk to him. Even though he's Jewish, I'm going to talk to him anyway. And he calls up David, and he gets David on this podcast, and it went really well. And then towards the hour marker, Owen likes accents, and he's going, "Where are you from originally?" And it was a part of Connecticut that David knew really well. He goes, "Yeah, it's right down the street." And he goes, "Yeah, I have a friend from down there." And immediately those two clicked. It's like they understood each other. And it's like, all right, and that was it. And the second that happens, then we booked him for the conference in Dallas. He's going to be doing a comedy set at Dallas that night, and again, he's going to be controversial. He's not speaking during the conference, for various reasons. But he's an entertaining guy, and he's burned a lot of Hollywood bridges. So I think he's on this path for good, and happy to have him. In some aspects, he's not fully. He hasn't fully come through the journey yet. His journey has been live on camera this entire time, which is great. But
yeah.
I've loved what he's put out so far. It's really intense, and my God, that man can do rants. He goes on podcasts, and it's also going to be a brand new audience when we're out in Dallas, because he's gonna, he has bears, his followers. He's going to have a lot of his followers at the conference who don't usually go to flat earth stuff. So he's got a whole nother group demographic he's bringing with him. So yeah, it should be fun.
Cool.
Yeah.
Cool.
Thanks, man.
Yeah.
I was also going to quickly ask, have you heard of the Odysseus?
Of the Odysseus? Is that a channel?
The Odysseus. It's a plane that they had a project to build this plane for like 30 years, and they've just completed it. It can apparently fly unmanned for 2 months at the same speed as a commercial jet.
Oh,
Commercial
would not surprise me. There's
Yes, hopefully it'll be able to prove the globe.
That'd be nice.
Yeah.
Military aircraft, when you get high enough, you can minimize your fuel usage and use your thermals. That the U-2 spy plane, heck, we designed that in the 60s, and the U-2 spy plane, from what I understand, can stay up for a very, very long time. The only problem is that the pilot eventually wears out. You know, they have to go to the bathroom. It's like they have to wear diapers anyway. But it's like they can't actually bring enough food and water. The pilot would just pass out from dehydration before the fuel ran out. But anyway,
So this one's unmanned for potentially 2 months up in the air. So I was hoping to start doing a GoFundMe, like with all the flat earthers. We'll put some cameras on it and get it up there. We'll fly it towards Antarctica.
You'll have to talk to the.
Hey, I like it.
Why not?
I like that idea. I will look at the Odysseus. That's what it's called.
I've already contacted them,
Yes.
and they've emailed me back, and they're hopefully going to give me a call. I'm going to let them know that I'm interested in crowdfunding.
Okay.
I'm pretty sure it'll be millions of dollars, but it would definitely prove the globe if the globe existed.
Okay.
GoPros are pretty cheap, right? You just
Yeah, you can get GoPros in a box of cereal if you want them.
just text through a few of those to the side of the plane, and
Yeah,
we'll have our answers.
nice.
And then
Nice.
you can keep the other $998,990.
Nice. All right.
Yeah.
Anyway, I got to get ready because I've got a plane to head out to in not too long.
Cool, man.
But thank you guys. And again, sorry for being late. And if you need anything else, let me know. But hopefully, I'll be back down here one of these days.
No, all good. Stay in touch, man. And thanks
Okay.
for your time.
All right.
Cool.
Bye, guys.
Hey, bro.
All right.
All right.